Well, hello, this is Denise Miller, your Leadership Lady Live, and we're here to discuss leadership quotes from great presidents of the United States. As you know, for July, we're talking about leadership from the viewpoint of people in government. Now, we're going to have three presidents of the United States, two of them very famous during our time, the third, not quite so much. But that first quote is from President James Buchanan. And he says this: the test of leadership is not to put greatness into humanity, but to elicit it. For the greatness is already there. Let me just repeat it again. The test of leadership is not to put greatness into humanity, but to elicit it. For the greatness is already there. Now, how often do we as leaders feel that we need to push people into the greatness that we think that they should have? How about this? As a leader, perhaps you should just take a look at the people in your team and see where their greatness lies, where their gifts are, where they're the most comfortable working because it just comes to them naturally. And then to elicit that greatness from them rather than to try to make them into a great that they're not really fit for. Before I go any further, I'd like to ask you, if you like this content, to please do distribute it to your community and to please do make sure that you are notified when my new content comes out every week. Now, let's go back to putting greatness into humanity versus eliciting greatness from humanity. What have you done to observe the members of your team? Have you taken them through DISC analysis or some other kind of behavioral assessments? Can you sit down with each of your team members and tell them where you see their strengths? Tell them how you think they can best improve on their strengths. I'll never forget this. One of the leadership positions that I had as a volunteer, I followed a woman who sat down with me and went through every single team member's name. And she was able to tell me what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, where their issues were, and what she had already been doing with them to get them to improve. That happened more than 30 years ago, but it is a lesson that has never left me. Know your team members. Know who they are, what their aspirations are, and what their good points are. The second is from Ronald Reagan. And he says the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one who gets the people to do the greatest things. As a leader, this is not about you. This is not about all that you can do. It's about getting the people on your teams to do the great things. There is greatness inside of every one of us. And as a leader, it is not the you show, it is the team show. And you should be behind the team, pushing them ahead to do the great things that each of them can do. As I've said many times before, when you push team members ahead to their greatness, they'll achieve that greatness, but you will not at all be looked down upon because your team members have had the limelight. In fact, people will look up to you because you've enabled your team members to step forth and shine. And then the third quote was from President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And he said this: leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. My question to you as a leader is, what new have you learned lately? What class have you taken? What webinar or seminar or workshop have you attended? What's the last book that you read about leadership? What's the last book that you read about anything in your field. It's really very important that you continue to learn. Always remember that the team will go no higher than the leader. The team's ability will rise no higher than the ability of the team leader. So if you're not learning, your team is not learning. And if your team is not learning, you are not doing your best work. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen this week. Next week, we're going to have 2 quotes from men who were appointed heads of state rather than being elected heads of state. They have a lot to say to us. Please remember to distribute this content to your community if you feel that it will be of help to them. And please always remember that you can drop comments or send me email. Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you next week.